Hey, what's up, guys? This is Bromley here with Unfun Stuff. Today I'm going to be going through some things because I know there's a lot of new people and even some old hats who might need a refresher on some things when you're playing My Hero or just Universus, UFS, whatever. This cool card game that we're all playing together. There's a lot of hype going on because of the My Hero set, and I think it's going to be cool to explore that with new players and old players alike. So I got a 10 list of things you should know about the game ahead of time. Let's get right into it. So the first thing you need to do is be able to use the UVS Ultra.com website. This is a rehash of an old thing we used to use for UFS that I think Scott DeJarnett programmed and put on the internet. It's a really great website. I'm going to go through it and I'm going to put it on a different screen in just a second, but you can build decks on it, you can read all the cards, you can learn synergies between all the cards and explore stuff from like 20 years ago. You know, so if you're like trying to dip your toes maybe into Universus in general, as a My Hero player, you can go super deep on it. So quick refresh on how that website works. It's up here. You can go to uvsultra.com. And you got a card search, which is the basic page. You can even go through top decks and stuff like that. Be like, oh, these are the really nice ones. You know, I like looking at this. You can search by card and all that stuff. And you have your own decks that you can come through, right? So you can make your own decks and it saves it for you too. But you can search by symbol. You can search by just My Hero Academia by itself. Let's say you wanted to find every weapon card because you're playing Aizawa on all, right? So you go through all, you look at all the weapons, you're like, okay, this is my card that I want to build around with my weapons and stuff like that. These are all the weapons I can use, right? And you can do this for anything, right? You're trying to do punches for All Might on all because All Might, right? You only got 4 of them, so we don't do it on all. But the basic idea, the principle is there, yeah. So you can do it by 100 different things. You got your resource symbols, you do it by set. Of course, with My Hero Academia, you can just do it with the format itself. You can search by action, stuff like that. Typically, when I do a deck list, I can do a live deck list sometime this week, but I search by, you know, attacks by themselves, and then do foundation assets and actions afterwards. But yeah, you can go super deep, in depth into detail, and I recommend using it super often when you're making your decks, because you can do ratios and stuff like that. Real quick, I can show you, let's say we're looking at Death Eraser, right? And we can look at the stats on the cards. We can see the number of cards of the deck, how many have blocks, the average block modifier, difficulty, average control. You can even have like these cool graphs that come up. It's just a really useful website that gives you a lot of data that otherwise, you know, you'd have to figure out on your own. So use UVS Ultra, very important resource for new and old players alike. Keep your packs. We don't know exactly what pack redemption is going to be used for, but hold on to your pack wrappers because you should be able to use them for redeeming cool promos later on as the game develops. And it's something that Jasco has done for the past, I don't know how many years, but each one of the packs, you keep them. I've turned in like 1,000 at a time, and you just get a bunch of cool promos when you go to like Worlds or Nats, or you can even mail them in. There's like a mail list. I know that Jasco has said on the Jaffa that they're going to be changing it a little bit, but keep them anyway, just in case. There's no reason. And if they change it and they're like, they're useless, then just toss them, you know, recycle them. I think that's the whole point, is that they're recycling them. Learn the art of the backswing, guys. This is something I see new players do, try to, well, it's hard to learn, right? Because you see attacks, you want to throw attacks, right? But sometimes you look at your opponent's board, you look at the cards in your hand, and you think, I don't know if I can kill them. I can maybe kill them. I'd have to tap all of my resources to it. And you've probably experienced this as a new player, is that when you fail the attack turn and you went too deep and you tapped all your resources out, you're super easy to kill afterwards, okay? And that art, that act of surviving your big swing and then backslapping them for free, basically, is called the backswing in UFS, okay? You don't always have to be the aggressor. There are, of course, aggro decks and stuff like that, but you can also, even as an aggro deck, just say, well, I'm not going to die here. I've identified what your attack lineup is going to do. I've held the right blocks, and I think you have to overcommit to try to kill me, and I'll be able to get you back. So sometimes it is better to just wait wait a little bit longer. You know, even if you're just sitting there, build one passing for one turn and trying to bait your opponent into a bad decision, it's a good idea. Especially in the My Hero Academy format, I've experienced that if I don't want to die, it's very easy not to die. There are some characters, of course, who can get around this. You know, coming to mind being like Tokiyami, Aizawa if he gets going, Nomu if he just draws the right cards and things like that. But like even against those characters, you have the right blocks and the right disruption tools, you can very easily not die to them. And then consider what you have, all your resources in hand and on your opponent's board, and how many cards they have in hand. Always be asking questions and reading cards. And if your opponent's doing the same thing, you're both waiting for backswings, start sculpting yourself an environment where you can break through their wall without having to backswing. Okay. And if I'm sounding kind of esoteric, the act itself, TLDR, is just you wait for your opponent to go in, you defend, and then as they have less resources, you go in. If you're not trying to do this, there are of course characters who are very good at breaking through walls by themselves. Come to mind being Kaminari, Mineta, and Tokiyami. But yeah, pretty good. Keywords are something that a lot of players might not be able to understand just yet. So I'm going to go through each one individually. Breaker grants the ability response after you block with this card. So not after you play it, it's after you block with it specifically. The next card your opponent attempts to play gets plus X difficulty, X equaling the breaker rating. So something like Ice Storm, I think it's called, has breaker 2 in it. You block with it, and then you respond with it. You have to activate the ability. You respond with it and give their next card plus 2 difficulty. So if, let's say they're playing a 5 difficulty, it would be on a 6 because they had a card in their card pool. Now it's on an 8. So a very powerful ability. Combo is a kind of a weird ability, but it always has a parentheses, right? Always preceded by requirements, which are referenced by the linked ability. Combo grants the ability, played abilities on this card that have the combo restriction may not be played unless the printed values of the cards immediately preceding this card in the card pool match the requirements listed after at least one combo keyword on this card, in order if applicable. For example, the big one in this set is Staff Strike, right? Staff Strike has combo, parentheses, weapon, comma, foundation. So it describes a situation in your card pool where before Staff Strike needs to be a weapon, either a card that just says weapon on it, right? Weapon keyword. So it could be a foundation, it could be an acid, it could be an attack, right? And then a foundation card, okay? So the keyword, the trait that it looks for could be on any card, but the foundation specifically needs to be a foundation, right? And then you can play the card and activate the combo ability, right? EX grants the ability enhance, discard one or more momentum. This attack gets plus X speed for each card used to pay the cost of this ability. X equals the rating of the EX keyword granted this ability. It's pretty simple. For each momentum you discard, you get that many number speed. So you use Recipro Burst and you discard 3 momentum. It's 3 times 3. You get 9 speed. Easy peasy. And then you save 1 more momentum and you give it 9 damage too. Pretty brutal, right? Flash grants the ability skip this attack's enhanced step. So we have a few of these, including one in Midoriya's kit and a couple in Jiro's kit. It's just responses are to play are the only things that can be played during the attack. So it just skips the enhanced step entirely. Makes sense, right? Flash, it's so fast that there's no enhances during it, right? Powerful grants the ability. It's kind of the inverse of EX. Enhanced, discard 1 momentum. 1 or more momentum. This attack gets plus X damage for each card used to pay the cost of the ability. X equals the rating. So just like EX3 would give you 3 speed for each momentum discarded, this one gives you 3 damage for each one discarded. So you can see how it gets crazy with like All Might, drawing like 9 cards, and he's like, give my attack powerful 10, and then he discards 4 momentum and he powerful 40s. It's very All Might, right? So powerful gives you that sort of thing, like I'm going all out, right? Just this once, I'm gonna punch you, right? And that's the big thing. Throw is a very powerful ability on too many cards in the format, but it grants the ability if this deck is completely blocked, it still deals half damage rounded up. So it's no matter how you block it, it's treated as a partial, quote unquote, right? Where you know they take damage regardless of whether or not they block it, right? An interesting thing to note is if you use something like Wall Cling, can't beats can. So if Wall Cling says, hey, I take no damage if I block this attack, it says can't take damage. This one says can, so it doesn't. Another thing to note is that this ability for powerful EX and so on and so forth, these are activated abilities. Flash is not activated. It's just a trait. It just happens. Same with Throw. You do not have to activate Throw. You do not have to activate Flash. Unique cards, I've seen this a lot with new players that they play, let's say Denki's Unique Foundation. you can't have more than one in your staging area. So let's say you build a second copy of the Denki Rare Foundation. You would have to choose one of them to destroy. Now, an interesting thing to note is that if you go into a turn and you have another, like a spare unique in your hand or something like that, you can tap the one that you have on your board to play the one, like the next one you have, and then build it down and destroy the tapped one for the turn. So you can play around it if you're playing lots of them for consistency or something like that. Traits themselves don't do anything, and they're usually references for character-specific abilities or for combos and stuff like that, and for flavor. Yeah, pretty much. The sixth one is a really important one for me. When I started the game 3 years ago, I needed to have people around me to teach me how to play better and like just learn from, just sponge in really good play. I had guys like Kevin Broberg, I had my boy Goose in our locals who just got engaged, shout out to Goose, and Jeremy Ray from Michigan, who just by watching them play I learned a lot, or playing against them I learned a lot from them. And there's a lot of people of course that I learned from, Dave Wagner I learned a lot from, Barrett Bryan, and so on and so forth, but like find people who are really good at the game, and instead of getting frustrated because you can't beat them, just pound your face into them and ask them questions about why are you thinking this during the game. Like if you're not in a tournament, even if you are in a tournament, right? Ask them what they're thinking, because that's how you learn, right? Like what are you thinking about in this situation? What do you think about this situation? How are you addressing my board at this state? How should I address your board in this state, right? There's no reason not to try to learn from the game, and be ravenous with your desire to get better and grow and learn from these guys. The community in general is awesome. I wouldn't be playing this game if the community weren't so great still, we had 2 years of no new stuff, so if the content around is just so great, and everybody loves to help out new players. You might get some like condescension and stuff like that, but just ignore those guys and talk to the guys who want to help you out. And when we do eventually go to events, you'll have a ton of fun. It's the best. The events are the best part of the game, in my opinion. Use the Discord communities and the Facebook groups to connect to other guys. I'm personally in the UFS Community NA and My Hero Academia CCGs Facebooks. I'm sure there's more of them. There's also like a buy sell trade one, and then for Discords, Shameless Card Players and Fun Stuff and the My Hero Academy CCG Discords are going to be in the description for you to join. Shameless of course is going to hate me for doing that, but they're like the big meme Universus guys. If you're really interested in Universus, I'd recommend Shameless. Otherwise, go to the My Hero CCG one. That's going to be more your speed. But for Fun Stuff, I do a lot of deck builds. I go over people's deck lists as well, and things like that when I have time. But hard recommend to join these communities and get to know people and find games and such and such. Use the Tabletop Simulator. It goes on sale all the time. It's only $20 even when it's not on sale, but it's just like UVS Ultra is great for deck building. Tabletop Simulator is great for deck testing. Even if you don't have cards, you can figure out what you're going to buy before you go and buy singles or go deep onto like playing the game. And the really nice thing I got super used to over the pandemic, like cleanup is so easy. I just delete the board right after I'm done. Like I'm so messy when I deck build at home, so I hate organizing. So the nice thing about TTS is that it lets me deck build and test before I have to go and build it in real life. It's super easy to use. It's easy to find opponents from all over the country and world. I'm gonna play people from like UK and Chile and stuff like that. And you don't need a huge collection to test and have good stuff. One of the coolest things about the pandemic testing was that everybody had all of the money URs. If you wanted to play a Fatality deck, you could play Fatality deck and so on and so forth. And then My Hero format, maybe you're like, man, I want to try All Might, but Texas Smash and Detroit Smash are kind of expensive. Well, test the deck before you buy, and if you really love it, go in and buy it from there. But yeah, Tabletop Simulator, Nick Reagan has a deck building table you can find. I'll put it in the description as well. This is the most important one. Read the fucking card, guys. Okay? Read your cards. Read your opponent's cards. Don't wait, right? Don't get caught. Don't get gotcha, right? Understand the game. You have to pay attention, right? And always be thinking about how your opponent could be using something to counter your stuff. Predict, and remember that UVS Ultra link I showed you? When I started the game, I took a symbol a day and I read every card in the format on those symbols. And there were 10 sets in the format at the time. So if you can't do that with one set, then you shouldn't be playing this game. No, I'm just kidding. It's, if you're interested in getting really good at the My Hero Academy card game, you need to learn every card in the card pool. And right now it's 180 cards. So you can definitely take a symbol a day and just read every card and like learn exactly what they do. And then, you know, next day try another one. Maybe you can do multiple symbols or something like that, but just get to know every card in the game. It's not too difficult, and it'll enhance your play just immensely. You know, the difference between a guy who knows what cards do and a guy who's just like playing his own game is going to be super stark, because this is an interactive game. It's not like some other games where you're playing sort of like solitaire against each other. It's very, you know, back and forth, and so the more you are rewarded for having a deeper knowledge pool to pull from. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Oh, it's literally this slide. Imagine that. Yeah, nothing replaces testing. You have to read all of the cards. I know I just said this, but this is basically the gist of it. Go and read every card in the format, right? And if you're trying to get into Universus, it's even more important, because it's the burden of knowledge in Universus is huge, but it's intimidating and it's super nerve-wracking to be like, oh my god, look at all these cards and things like that. But for one thing, everything but like URs are super cheap to buy. So if you wanted to try Universus proper in standard, you could do that, and it'd be very easy to do what I did, which is just take a symbol a day and read all the cards. But otherwise, you're just trying to do My Hero. That's cool, man. Do the same thing. Read a symbol a day, get used to it, because symbols have identities. You know, you'll be able to recognize synergies between characters and things like that you wouldn't have noticed had you just stuck to a character's support. Mix and match, have fun, do your thing. And that's the last lesson, which is have fun. It's a game. Don't get upset. Have fun. We're here to have fun, boys. Okay? That's it. Those are my 10 things. Hope you had a good time. Hope you have a good time. If you ever have any questions or things like that, you can DM me on Discord. I'll put my thing in the description. Love helping out new players. Love helping out old players. Love just playing the game. Have a good week. See you later.